Right. Okay, guys, good afternoon and welcome back. Hope you guys can hear me properly, right? So let's start today's day three, right? So, this is a series. I'm giving the whole thing. I'm not going to jump. Uh, so, I'm not skipping any part, right? So, I'm giving everything. That's why take like I can do with this is within like one day, but this is a series, right? I'm covering everything, right? Now, when it comes to this part, now, in day one, I finished up to the closing stock adjustment, right? Then in day two, I finished adjustments of damaged goods sent by on the basis of sales or return, goods in transit, stocks drawing, stocks donation. Hope you can remember. Send me a thumbs up. We finish everything up to here, right? So today, what I'm going to do, discuss about bad debt and the impairment loss. Same word, but this is there is a slight difference. Still, this haven't tested, but sometimes the impairment loss thing will tested from you because it's the new change thing. Provision for doubtful debt and allowance for impairment losses, right? These are the covering things under here, right? So let's come from here. So this is in the tutorial page number uh, 10. Bad debts, right? Bad debts. In another word, it says as impairment losses on trade receivables, right? Hope it's clear to you. Send me a thumbs up, right? So stay. I want thumbs ups, right? Okay, right. Others, Gaveshi, are you there? Right. Okay. Now, when it comes to bad debts, what is the term called bad debts or impairment loss? Now, we do credit sales, right? Credit sales means selling stocks on credit basis. Payment is happening later. You know, when we sell the stocks, how we recorded, right? When the business does the credit sales, how we recorded. We recorded sales account credit as sales account credit. Let's take thousands, right? Trade receivables, trade receivables, else debit thousand, right? Debit, right? This is all about the. I'll take three situations, right? Right. Now, when it comes to if the debtor paid the money, how we identify trade receivables credit, cash control debit, right? So we record in the cash receipt journal and we credit to the case. This is identified under sales journal. Then it comes to sales account credit, trade receipt, control account debit. So and it goes to the subsidiary ledger as well. You know, uh, Trade receivables credit, cash account. Now, if the debtor paid only the part, now bad debts means because of some reasons we get to know that the debtor is not paying cash, right? Debtor සල්ලි ගෙවන්න එක්ක මැරිලා සුහැදිලා මොන හරි වෙලා, right? Debtor is not paying cash. Okay, right? The debtor සල්ලි ගෙවන්නේ නැත්නම් if we can't identify the debtor trade receivable account as it is අපි මේක තව දුරටත් trade receivables කියලා තියාගෙන ඉඳලා වැඩක් නැහැ, right? මොකද එයා සල්ලි ගෙවන්නේ නැත්නම් වැඩක් නැහැ. So what we do in here, we write off trade debtors as bad debts. Understand? Bad debts. In another words, we call as impairment losses nowadays. So what we do in here, we debit bad debt account, right? Kira debit kara. Full එයා දෙන්නෙම නැත්නම්. We credit the trade receivable. Sometimes you may think, can't we debit bad debt account? And so, like, can't we do like this trade receivables account credit? Sales account debit. So sale එකක් නැති වෙනවා වගේ. අපි එහෙම කරන්නේ. Sale එකේ එහෙම තියෙනවා. Bad debts කියලා වෙනම identify. Right? Instead of debiting to here, we debit to the bad debts, right? This is an expense account, right? Okay. Right. Now, when it comes to think the debtor paid part of this, yeah, you know, mama under 750 දෙන්න ඉතුරු ටික මට දෙන්න බෑ. ඒකට හේතුව insolvency වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මම වුණත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. So I can't stay. I'll pay only 750. So debtor 750 ගෙවුවොත් cash debit 750. Debtors account of the trade receivables account rate 100. ඉතින් ඉතුරු 250 යා කවදාවත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Confirmly කිව්වා. So what we do in here, we identify rest of the thing as bad, right? Bad debts. ඉතුරු ටික අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? Bad debt විදියට write off කරනවා 200, right? එයා 750කට දුන්නා 150. Easy, clear to you? Totally you can write within one entry: credit trade receivables, debit cash, debit bad debt. Easy, clear to you? Understand? So this is three ways of recording. If we paid the full amount is not paid, part paying, part means not the half, part paying, and other is not paid. So there is another way of recording bad debts nowadays, right? So instead of debiting, now think the full amount is being identified as bad debt, right? So instead of debiting to the bad debt, we open another account called ledger impairment loss account. අයියේ කියලා ඔයාලට doubtful debut කරාම තේරෙයි. Impairment loss account, right? We debit to here. But slight difference එක කියලා අරට. දැන් එයා part pay කරා කියලා. අර same similar like 750 paid, 250 not paid. So trade receivables credit 750, cash control debit 750. 250 is not paying. So impairment loss account, impairment loss account. So it's R, right? R, no need M, R E, no, R E. Impairment loss account, debit 200. You can write the whole double entry. Trade debtors, you can write within 3 entries. Trade receivables account credit 1000, cash debit 750, impairment loss account debits 200. Right? So let's see. Due to the sale of goods and services on credit, the bad debts arise as much as possible. And if the amount due to from debtors is determined to be irrecoverable, then the irrecoverable debt is known as bad debt or impairment loss on trade receivables. Double entry relevant to bad debt. bad debt account debit, debtor control account credit. If we concern it as impairment loss, the same thing in another accounting method, you can get to know that means once we prepare the doubtful, right? After long time to on the video session, right? Impairment loss account debit, trade receivables account credit, right? Okay, right. Let's see. Write the heading in. No need to maintain. If you need, you can write. I think no need, right? Hope you got the idea. Sending a thumbs up. I think no need to write anything about here. Right? It's easy. Is it clear to you? Send me a thumbs up. No need to write, right? Okay. So write the heading in your writing book. Bad debt or another word, impairment loss on trade receivables. Bad debt, bad debt, or another word, impairment loss on trade receivables. Right. Exercise number 18, page number 10. Exercise number 18, page number 10. Gayan was a debtor of Lintra's business and he had to pay 5,000. Because of his bankruptcy, Lantra decided to waive off 5,000. Show the relevant journal entry to record this. I'll use the both ways. තාම exam එකේ ඔයගලන්ගේ අර impairment loss කතාව දී you know මේ අපි maintain කරන්නේ Lantra's business, so you know debtor Gayan, right? So the same way using the bad debt thing and the impairment loss. Debtor Gayan. There was sales of 1,000, so 5,000. So it's 5,000 arise because of this 5,000 sales, 5,000. Think the full amount is writing off as bad debt, so we credit it as bad debt, 5,000 bad debt, and in here we debit the bad debt account, debtor Gayan, 5,000 is capital. If so, if it is concerned as a impairment loss, right? So you know how we concern impairment loss account debit 5,000 as bad debt, so as debtor Gayan, debtor Gayan's account credit as impairment loss 5,000. So this is bad debt way, same thing is under impairment loss. Is it clear to you? Send me a thumbs up. Hope it's clear to you, right? Write it and raise your hands faster. Then let's go to the other. Once you have written, raise your faster. Once you done raise your hands, you need to do more things. Waiting for all your raise hand. Right. Sit madam. Okay, right? Nice. So all done. All right. All done, right? I'll move forward. All good? Right. Let's move on. Right. Now it's bad debts recovery, impairment loss recovery, right? Receiving already written uh, bad debts, right? Let's see. This is relevant for recovering bads of debts or trade receivable which was written off in current year. කියන්නේ මේ අවුරුද්දේ bad debts කියලා කපපු right ඒවා මේ අවුරුද්දේම හම්බෙනවා අවුරුද්දේ. Cash control account debit, debtor control account credit, right? Restoring the debtors account, debtor control account debit, bad debts account credit. I'll explain what is it, right? It's like this. Then initially හිතන්න this is debtor A right? දැන් මේ debtor ගේ එකෙන් sales කියලා තිබ්බ හිතන්න 1000 sales. එයා දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා හිතලා අපි ඒ අවුරුද්දේ we write it off as bad debt, right? So how we record debtor like debtor control account, right? So normally, we take the control account. I'll take the control account, debtor control, right? No, in the general ledger we uh, maintain the control account, right? So we write off in here number one and bad debt. Now this is writing off. දැන් මෙයා මලා කියලා හිතලා ඔන්න අපි දැන් මේ අවුරුද්දේ ඇද කැපුවා. එයාගේ පුතා ඇවිල්ලා කියනවා අයි තාත්තා ණයකාරයෙක් කියලා ඉන්න මම. Just keep it. This is his uh, amount. His amount to be paid. So you keep it. අපි කියන්නේ නැහැ මේක අරන් යන්න. I don't know, right? So now first of all we need to think receiving cash, right? So how we record cash control account debit, cash control account debit 1000, right? සල්ලි හම්බෙච්ච එක කොහෙටද දාන්න? number 2. This is number 2, right? Debtors account credit. දෙපාරක් credit වෙලා දිනවා, right? Cash control account debit, debtors account credit. දැන් මේකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? සල්ලි හම්බෙච්ච එක. කියන්නේ දැන් මේකෙන් රෙකෝඩ් කරන්නේ ඉනිෂියලි සේල් එකට සල්ලි හම්බෙච්ච එක තමයි මේ. හැබැයි අපි කියන්නේ ඒක හරියට නිකන් මෙන්න මේකට දැන් සේල් එකට සල්ලි හම්බුණා වගේ තමයි දැන් මේ රෙකෝඩ් කරන්නේ. right? Okay, but we already written off it as bad debt. Understand? දැන් මේක තියන්න බෑ. මේක අපි bad debt කියලා දීලා තියෙන්නේ. write off කරලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් අපිට ඒක කපන්න බෑ. අනිත් එක දැන් debtors account එකට 2000 credit වෙලා sale එකට දෙපාරක් සල්ලි හම්බෙලා. right? මේ දෙපාරක් අයින් වෙලා. debtor control account debit, right? they are initially write off කරපු එක ආය reverse කරන්න. bad debt account credit is equal. then bad debt එක කැපෙනවා, right? hope it's clear to you, right? bad debt account is closing, right? debtors account එකේ bad debt write off කරපු එකත් reverse. දැන් හරි 2000 තියෙනවා දෙපැත්තෙම. this is also debtor value is not more. cash හම්බෙච්ච එකක් තියෙනවා. understand? sales account එක initially කොහොමද credit තියෙනවා, credit sales, right? now how we identify under impairment loss way, right? now when it comes to impairment loss way, I'll take the same thing. debtor, instead of debiting to the bad debts, we identify impairment loss account, right? now initially sales 1000. දැන් අපි යා සල්ලි හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා හිතලා bad debtors account credit 1000, impairment loss account debit 1000, number 1. දැන් ඉන්න එයා ඇවිල්ලා සල්ලි දෙනවා. so how we record cash account debit, debtors account number 2. ඒ අවුරුද්දේ මා current year. so now we need to reverse the bad debt, right? so now in here there is something called impairment. so trade receivables account debit, impairment. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් impairment loss එකත් එක්ක තියෙනවා නම් අපි කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම debtors කියලා නෙමෙයි, ඇත්තටම debtors with trade receivables with එකම එකයි. අර මේ අලුත් standards වලද they change it as trade receivable. trade receivable both are same, right? but the correct name is nowadays trade receivables. so impairment loss account credit 1000, trade receivables account debit same way another. Is it clear to send me? But this is relevant for current year. Hope you understood it. I want the thumbs ups. Thumbs up. If you can't understand, let me, right? Right. Okay. Now this is in both ways. There is an exercise. Can you do this one? I'll give you a few minutes. I'll do both ways. I won't need both. Do it. I want the answers. To do it and raise two hands, I want in under both ways. Right?
Do you understand my
Shall we do it? All good? Right. Ruan was the debtor of Lanka's business, and Lanka decided to waive off 5,000 of Ruan's balance as bad debt. But Ruan paid this amount. Show the accounts. You can write the heading. This is bad debts recovery same year. Right? Bad debts recovering same year. Right. Right. This is exercise 19, page number 10. Right. Under both methods. Right. Uh, Ruan, right? So what we do in here, data control account. So in here, in normally bad debt methods, we identify data control, trade receivable, right? Initially, there was 5,000 as data as sales 5,000, and we write off as bad debt. So in here we debit bad debt 5,000, right? And in here we open bad debt account, debit 5,000 as debtor control. Now this is the initial thing, right? In here, we open impairment loss account. Here we impairment loss 5,000, 5,000 as trade, right? Now it's about bad debt recovery. You know, cash control account debit 5,000, we credit to the debtor control, cash control 5,000 cash receipt. Here cash control debit 5,000 as trade receivables. In here cash control, right? Then we credit the bad debts and debit the debtor control 5,000, and we debit here 5,000 bad debt, right? Here trade receivables 5,000, impairment loss, right? 5,000. Hope it's clear to you. Send me a thumbs up. Hope it's clear. Pinch it and raise your hands. Done. Have you finished? Right. Hold on. Now, bad day. That is about the bad debt. Now there is another thing I'll explain it to you later. If the bad debt written off amount recovering in future. Now, for an example, we identify the bad debt 2024 2022 23 accounting period as the bad debt, but the amount recovered on 2024-25 accounting period, right? Later on. Next one. Provision for doubtful debt, another thing. Allowance for impairment losses on trade receivables. Now, bad debt means we are writing off. Is a loss to the business, right? What is the term called? Doubtful debt. Allowance from profit for amounts estimate based on the past experience as not being received from debtors is provision for doubtful debt. Allowance for impairment. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි නිකන් ෂුවර් එකක් නෑ ඩවුට් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒක නිසා debtors ළගෙන් යම් කිසි ගාණක් අපි අයින් කරනවා provision එකක්. doubtful debt කියලා. හම්බෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි කියලා අපිට හිතෙන්නේ. So, what is the double entry for provision for doubtful debt? Doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit. Transferring to P&L, income statement debit, doubtful debt account credit. Then doubt මං කියන්නම් මොකද්ද මේ transferring. Allowance for impairment loss. Then bad debt වලට කිව්වේ අපි මේකේදී impairment loss කියලා. Doubtful debt එකේ then bad debt අපි කොහොමද මෙතන තිබ්බේ? You know, bad debts we recorded as impairment loss account debit, trade receivables account. In here, when it comes to doubtful debt, then bad debt කියන්නේ sure එකටම හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා දැනගෙන හැබැයි සමහරට ආයෙ හම්බෙන්න පුළුවන් recover වෙන්න පුළුවන්. තමන් කිපුතා වගේ කියන. මේක ඇවිල්ලා නිකන් කම්පැනි පොලිසි එකක් වගේ යන එක. අපි doubtful debt sure නැති වෙයි කියලා undoubtful අය. Impairment loss account debit, allowance for impairment loss account credit, right? Then bad debt would then mean impairment loss account again, right? Doubtful debt would then impairment loss again. Oh, අන්න ඒකයි මේ method එකේ තියෙන වෙනස, right? I'll give you a summary, right, related to that. Okay, bad debts and doubtful debt. Bad debts and doubtful debt, right? Now, when it comes to just only the number one, I'll take bad debt written off and we can take it as written off impairment. Another impairment loss of impairment loss. අපි දෙකේදී කොහොමද අපි bad debts write off කරන විදිය දුන්නේ? So in here bad debt account debit, then debtor account credit. Is it clear to send me a thumbs up in this method? In here, how we recorded impairment loss account debit, right? Trade receivables. මේ trade receivables with debtors එකන එකම account එක. නම් ටික තමයි පොඩ වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. Account, right? Now let's see the next one. Provision for doubtful debt. Provision for doubtful debt. මේ ඇවිල්ලා මේ provision එකක් කරා. හම්බෙයිද නැද්ද කියලා sure. මේකේ අනිත්තර allowance method එකදී කියන්නේ allowance for impairment loss. Impairment loss එක allowance for impairment. Impairment loss. Right? Allowance for impairment loss. Right? Now, in this method, how we recorded, doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit. Bad debt එක නෙමෙයි අපි දැම්මේ. Doubtful account debit, අඩමාන ණය. Provision for doubtful debt account, right? But when it comes to this method, doubtful debts also we debit to the impairments account debit. That is the main difference in here, right? The impairment loss account debit, allowance for impairment loss account, allowance for impairment loss account credit. But I won't tell you, just remember, in this method, bad debts is කියන්නේ මොකද්ද හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා අපි ෂුවර් එකටම දැනගෙන රයිට් ඔෆ් කරන එක. හැබැයි පස්සේ රිකවර් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. තේරුණා නම් දාන්න මට තමයි. ෂුවර් විදිහට අපි දන්නේ නැතුව රයිට් ඔෆ් කරාට හම්බෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. එගොල්ලෝ the thumbs ups, right? doubtful debt කියන්නේ doubt එකක් තියෙනවා හම්බෙයිද නැද්ද කියලා. ඒක නිසා අපි සමහරට ඒජින් කරනවා ළමයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මෙහෙම හිතන්න දැන් අපිට හිතනවා අපි අද බලන දවසේ ඉඳන් කියන්නේ අපි ඩේටර්ස් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දැන් අදට තමයි බලන්නකො ඒජින් කරනවා ඩේටර්ස්. දැන් ක්‍රෙඩිට් සේල් එකේ ඉඳන් දවස් ගානට සේල් එක වෙච්ච දවසේ ඉඳන් සල්ලි හම්බෙලා නැහැ 0 ඉඳන් 30 වෙනකම් 30 ඉඳන් 60 වෙනකම් 60 ඉඳන් ඔහොමම අර ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒජින් කරනවා. සේල් එක වෙලා දවස් 150ක් වෙලා තාම සල්ලි නැහැ. ඒතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ වැටෙන්නේ කියන්නේ ඩේට් එක විදියට හිතන්න like 30 ඉඳන් 150 days ඒගොල්ලෝ හම්බෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි කියලා අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට කියන්න පුළුවන්. So we write off as bad, we provision for bad debt. මොකද කියන්න බෑ දෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. අපිට තාම confirmly හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ. right? එනවාට අර අපි expense එක විදියට identify කරලා තියාගන්න එක හොඳයි. So හැබැයි මෙතනදී hope you can see bad debts උයි doubtful debts උයි දෙකම එකම account එකේ තමයි maintain කරන්නේ. Under impairment. Understand? In here, doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit. Here, both bad debts and doubtful debt both be debit to the impairment loss account. Hope it's clear to you. Write it and raise your hands. Is doubtful debt account. right? Okay. Now, sometimes you may think, what is the term called this transferring entry? Transferring entry, right? Now, just remember, you know, to have a clear idea. Now, you know, right? So, now just remember like this. You know, there are 5 types of accounts in the ledger, right? You know, assets accounts, equity account, liability type of account, income type of account, expense type of account, right? And just remember, right? You know, at the end of the month, assets, liability, and equity accounts. So, liability accounts, balance brought forward, right? Under credit. Equity accounts also balance brought forward under credit side, right? Asset accounts also balance brought forward under the assets accounts balance brought forward under debit side, right? Now, when it comes to income expense accounts, that is the thing again. These things are not balance brought forward to the next year. Is it clear to you? Income and expense accounts, we transfer to the P&L or profit or loss statement. In previous orders, income statement. දැන් අපි income statement එකක් ගැහුවොත් හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. I'll write P&L. දැන් අපි හදන්නේ දැන් statement format එකටනේ අපි හදන්නේ ඇත්තටම උඩ ඉඳන් පල්ලෙහාට එන format එක තමයි අපි හදන්නේ. ඒකේ අපි income උඩින් දාලා expense අඩු කරලා profit එක calculate කරනවා. හැබැයි ඉස්සර තිබ්බේ ledger format එක. income ඔක්කොම දාන්නේ credit. right? expense ඔක්කොම දාන්නේ debit. දාලා gross profit BCD BB form එකම දැන්. දැන් මේ format එක use කරන්නේ since no one can understand. දැන් income statement එකේ sorry income accounts ගත්තොත් අපි BCD BBF ගන්න ඒ අවුරුද්දේ PN මේකට transfer කරලා profit එක calculate කරනවා. මොකද no profit is adding under equity. නිසා මේ දැන් ඔයා accounting equation ගත්තත් කියන්න ඔයාලට opening balance දෙද්දි කවදාවත් income balance expense balance දෙන්න. Is it clear? You send me a thumbs up. ඔයාලට දෙන්නේ නැහැනේ salary account brought forward balance, right? බලන්න කොයි ගානකවත් ඔයාට income expense account දෙන්නේ නැහැ opening balances. එතකොට income accounts මෙතනින් අන්තිමටම PN කියලා මෙතනින් debit වෙලා මෙතනට credit වෙනවා. expense account ගත්තොත් මෙතනින් credit වෙලා මෙතනට debit වෙනවා. easy clear to say. අර ඊ අවුරුද්ද transfer වෙනවා. ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දට අරගෙන යන්නේ නැහැ. that is the term called transferring. දැන් ඔයාලට පේනවද doubtful debt account එක, right? income statement එකට debit නේ යන්න ඕනේ මොකද expense එකක්. doubtful debt is an expense account. Provision for doubtful debt is an asset decreases account. Just remember. This is an expense account. This is assets decreases account. This is also expense account and asset account. Right? Then doubtful debt account එක income statement එකට debit වෙන්න ඕනේ. You can see like income statement debit, right? Doubtful debt account credit transfer. දැන් මේක ගත්තා impairment loss account එක, it is also an expense account. Trade receivables is an asset account. Allowance for impairment loss is an asset decreases. Is it clear to you? Send me a thumbs. Then expense accounts transfer. Impairment loss account එක credit වෙලා. Right? P&L එක debit වෙලා. Income statement එක debit. Right? The balance of the provision for doubtful debt account should be deducted from the trade debtors in the statement of financial position. Right? අපි ඒක කරමු. මෙන්න මේකත් චුට්ටක් ලියාගෙන අයින් asset the expense. Right? These are expense asset account, asset decreases account, expense account, asset account, and asset decreases. Right? Write it and raise your hands. All good, right? And make sure to draw this as well. එතකොට පොඩි අවබෝධයක් එනවා. Right? P&L account එකට income මෙහෙම එන්නේ expense. Hold on. These as well. If you are still writing low, you raise hands. Right? If not, I'm moving forward. Right. Hope all good. Right. If you need more time, let me. We didn't do one, right? Right. Right. Let's see this one. In Lata's business on 30th June 2019, after writing off the bad debt, the sum of the balance in the account receivable is 6,000. It has been decided to do a 5% provision as doubtful debt from the debtors. show the relevant accounts. Right. Now, this is exercise number 20, page number 11. Exercise number 20. Exercise number 20. Exercise number, page number 11. Page number 11. Right. Let's see. Now, in Lata's business on 30th June, after writing off the bad debt, the sum of the debtor account balance is 60,000. It has been decided to do 5% provision as doubtful debt from debtors. Right. Now, in here it says the debtors, right? Debtors balance after writing off bad debts as how much? You can see 60,000. 60,000. Is it clear? You send me a thumbs up. From this amount, it has been decided to do 5% provision. 60,000 to 5%. 60,000 to 5%. It's a provision, right? 3,000, right? Doubtful debts are not going to uh, bad debt. Okay. Doubtful debt account debit 3,000, right? Provision for doubtful debt credit 3,000, right? Is it clear? You send me a thumbs up, right? Now, doubtful debt is an expense account. This is an asset decreases account, right? When we prepare the financial statements extractions, if I draw the P and L, there is no information regarding the uh, like bad debt. Only the doubtful debts has been. Under assets, use current asset. Right in here under minus expense, no distribution expense, right? I'll take a snap of this. I won't put the other way, right? Now in here, you can see under distribution expenses, we write as doubtful debt. How much? Rupees 3,000. Now debtor balance is 60,000. Provision for doubtful debt, we write it as provision for doubtful as 3000. Deduct from here and we write the net debtors as 57,000. Clear to you? Send me a thumbs up. Right? Hope it's clear to you. Right? Is it clear to you? Send me a thumbs up. Right? Write and raise your hand. Turn on the videos and read.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, under the in the profit or loss statement, under the distribution expenses, why do we write doubtful debt instead of the provision for doubtful debt?
Provision for doubtful debt is an asset decreases account. In P&L, we include only income and expense, right?
Okay, sir. Good. Thank
It goes to
you.
the doubtful debt. Doubtful debts also an expense. Clear? Is the undoubtful debt whether this will received or not? Is the
Okay,
provision
sir.
we made. If you have done, raise your hands faster. Don't take too much. We done? Right. Let's go to the same thing. I'm using the allowance method. Hope you can, right? So in here, uh, you know, trade receivables, right? They have given you the balance is 60,000, right? Closing balance after deducting the, we do doubtful debt after writing off the bad debt. I'll explain another one, right? 60,000. So uh, in here, allowance for impairment loss, allowance for impairment loss, the doubtful allowance for impairment loss, right? 60,000 to 5%, 3,000. You know what is the double? Impairment loss account debit. Bad debts also comes under here in this way, 1,000, right? Allowance for impairment loss, credit. In here under distribution expenses, we write impairment loss, trade, right? In here, trade receivables, I'll take only one, right? We don't, I'll take only one column, right? Trade receivable, 60,000. From that, we deduct allowance for impairment loss, allowance for impairment, 3,000. Once we deduct it, it's 57,000, right? Impairment loss is an expense, then assets fee. Is it clear to you? Send me a thumbs up. The same method in the allowance for impairment loss account, right? අපි ඉස්සරහට යද්දී යද්දී තමයි හොඳ හොඳ ගණන් තියෙන්නේ. Write it and raise. අදත් බැරි වෙයි ඔක්කොම ඉවර කරගන්න. Done, Sigma? Done, right? Shall we move forward? Doubtful debt provision, allowance for impairment or shortage. What is this? If the opening balance of the doubtful debt provision allowance doubtful debt provision account or the allowance for impairment of is lesser than the amount to be provisions, which means closing balance is high. On that day of the current account year, that amount is termed as shortage provision of doubtful debt or a shortage allowance of impairment loan. Within the example, you can have an idea. Doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit. Right? අපි example එකක් බැලුවාම ඔයාලට තේරෙයි. මතක තියාගන්න හැමතිස්සෙම doubtful debt අපි provision එක කරන්නේ bad debts කැපුවට පස්සේ. මම ඊළඟට there are in future there are examples you can see all the with the all the applications you can have a clear idea, right? Okay, and yeah, from this one you can have a clear idea about. Okay, let's go with him, right? Example number 21, page number 11, right? Doubtful debt provision example again what කියලා දෙන්න, right? Don't write, I'll write the doubtful debt provision provision in other word the allowance for impairment loss, allowance for impairment loss in bracket shortage අපි බලමු මොකද්ද මේ, right? Allowance for impairment loss shortage, right? Now you can see in here this is we go with exercise number 21 page number 11. Exercise number 21, page number 11, right? Okay, don't write, I'll give you enough time. There is a balance of doubtful debt account, uh-huh, 3,000. Then I'll take two things, right? Then make a, we need two things, right? Trade debtors, sorry, I'll take like just only debtor control, right? And provision for doubtful debt. Provision for doubtful debt, right? Provision for doubtful. Look here, right? Then may debtors lage monada. You can see doubtful debt account එකේ balance එක තිබිලා තියෙනවලු 3000 opening opening balance code for 3000 ඒක asset decreases account එකක් නිසා ගිය අවුරුද්දේවත් ඉස්සරහට එනවනේ එතකොට ඒක credit side තියෙන send me a thumbs up you know what is the double entry for provision for doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit, doubtful debt account credit ඒක යනවා ඒ අවුරුද්දේ provision for doubtful debt එක credit වෙලා ඒක asset මේ debtors ලගෙන් අඩු කරලා පෙන්නන, right? Now when it comes to this one, the opening balance was 3000. දැන් debtors ලගේ opening balance එක අපිට දීලා නැහැ. එකපාර closing balance එකම දීලා තිනවා කීයක්ද? balance board for debtors ලගේ closing balance එක දීලා තියෙනවා 800,000. 800. Right. දැන් business එකේ policy එක තමයි doubtful debt ගොඩක් වෙලාවට percentage එකකින් කරන්නේ. يعني හම්බෙයිද නැද්ද කියලා ෂුවර් නැති ඒවා 8% කියලා දිනනවා debtor balance එකෙන් කපන්න. Right? හරි. If I take it, you know, 800,000 into 8%. So, which means you can see 8,000 multiply 8 means 64,000. Send me a thumbs up if it is clear to you. 64,000. Right? 64,000. ඇත්තටම ගොඩාක් වැඩි විතරම ඉන්නේ නෑ but it's දැන් මේ 64,000 කියලා කියන්නේ right doubtful debt account එකේ ඇත්තටම දැන් මම කලින් එකේ එහෙම දැම්මේ නැහැ doubtful debt account එකේ closing යන්න ඕන දැන් මේ percentage එකකින් ගන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ this is the closing balance easy clear ඇත්තටම doubtful debt account එකේ මෙතනක් තිබ්බා it should be 3000 right එළවෙන්නවා කියන්නේ yes hope you can hear me send me a thumbs up I'm audible stuck වෙලා තියෙනවා right start එකක් දීලා බලමු right yeah again I should draw it I'll draw it again. This is about, you can write the heading, right? Before that, can you write the heading, please? I'm not going to write it again. Doubtful debt provision and allowance for doubtful debt provision. Shortage in your writing book, write the thing, right? I'll take only the exercise number 21, page number 11, right? Exercise number 21, page number 11, right? Debtors provision for doubtful. අක්කරි වෙලා මම හිතන්නේ රීස්ටාර්ට් කරනවා. provision for doubtful කිය. දැන් අර provision එකක් කියලා කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම ඒගොල්ලෝ දීලා තියෙනවා debtor balance එක closing balance එක how much? Closing debtor 800,000, right? Provision for doubtful debt එකේ opening balance එක තිබ්බා 3000, 3000 right? දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ කියනවා මේ doubtful debt business එකේ, right? 800,000 into 8%, 36,000, right? So not 36,000, it should be 64,000, right? දැන් මේ මෙතන මේ 64,000 කියලා කියන්නේ you don't think like this is the doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit නෙමෙයි. ඇත්තටම මම කලින් එකේ ලියපු විදිය එහෙම දැන් මට කලින් එකේ you know මට කලින් එකේ කියන්න බෑ අපිට කීයද ආවෙලාම මෙතන. Can you tell me how much? 3,000, am I correct? Can you hear me? In previous case?
Yes, sir.
Yes. දැන් ඇත්තටම කලින් මම කරේ කලින් එකේ debtors ලා හිටියා how much? Debtors ලා හිටියා 60,000, right? 1,000, right? දැන් ඇත්තටම මම නිකන් ඒක දැම්මේ doubtful debt account credit, provision for doubtful debt කියලානේ දැම්මේ. ඒක ඇත්තටම වැරදි. මම නිකන් ඔයාලට ඒක idea එකක් දුන්නේ. doubtful debt account එකේ closing balance එක තමයි යන්න ඕනේ 3,000. උතර මතක තියාගන්න. ඒකත් ඕනනම් එතන දාගන්න. doubtful debt account එකේ closing balance එක 3,000 යන්න නම් මෙතන 3,000 ඊට පස්සේ අපි credit කරලා මෙතන debit කරනවා 3,000. ඔයා දන්නවනේ අපි වැඩි පැත්තෙන් යන්නේ. තේරුණාද? දාන්න බාන්න thumbs up. අර doubtful debt එක provision for doubtful debt account එකේ BCD කියන්නේ BBF යන්න ඕන credit side නේ because it is an asset decreases account. So BCD goes to the debit side, you know when we balance it. එතකොට අර ලියලා තියෙන එක ලියලා තියෙනවනේ credit side එකේ. ඇයි? වැඩි පැත්තෙන්නේ අපි ඉස්සරහට. තේරුණා නම් දාන්න බාන්න thumbs up. ඒකෙන් දාලා තමයි අරගෙන transfer කරන්නේ. කලින් එකේ opening balance එකක් තිබ්බේ නැති නිසා අවුලක් නැහැ. The previous one I think it's because of it's later the 20. දැන් මේකේ opening there was a 3,000, right? මේ closing balance එකට ගන්නවා කියනවා 8%, right? Debtors ලගේ balance එකෙන් 8% ගත්තාම 64,000. Send me a thumbs up if it is clear. It should be 64,000. Understood? Right? දැන් මට කියන්න opening doubtful debt provision කරලා තියෙන ගාන අඩුයි. closing ගාන වැඩි. දාන්න බන්න thumbs up. එහෙනම් අපි opening provision එකක් කරලා තියෙන ගාන අඩුයි. අන්තිමටම යන ගාන වැඩි. දාන්න බන්න thumbs up. I won the thumbs up. right? දැන් මේ අවුරුද්දේ ඔයා හිතනවද දැන් opening 3,000ක් තියෙනවා. මේ අවුරුද්දේ closing යනවා 64. දැන් ඔයා හිතනවා මේ 64 debit doubtful debt 64 credit provision for doubtful debt එහෙම නෙමෙයි. right? එතකොට අපි 61,000 තමයි doubtful debt කියන expense එක identify කරන්න. ඒ කලින් 3,000 කළා තියෙනවා. right? look here. මේ what it says doubtful debt shortage කියන්නේ opening මදි closing වැඩි. so doubtful debt account debit 61,000, provision for doubtful debt account credit 61,000. දැන් අපි doubtful debt account එක expense account එකක්. ඒකේ BBF වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ ළමයි. යවුරුද්දේ ඉන්න එක. right? So in here we write provision for doubtful as 61,000. Right? මතක තියාගන්න මේ balance එකට තමයි 8% කපන්නේ. It says clearly. කලින් එකෙත් අර මම මෙහෙම දැම්මේ නෑ. Right? මේකෙත් ඇත්තටම අර closing balance මේක තමයි BBF යන්න ඕනේ. ඒක එහෙම අවුලක් වුන්නේ නෑ. ඒකට හේතුව කලින් ඕපනින් කරලා තිබ්බේ නෑ කලින් ගානේ. ඕනනම් මේකත් ඔයා doubtful debt provision for doubtful debt account එකට දාගන්න. BCD BBF යවලා මේකෙන් තමයි ගන්නෙ. දාන්න බාන thumbs up එකයි. I want the thumbs up. Right? මේකේ බලන්න. මේ closing debtor balance එකට තමයි closing doubtful debt අපි right? Okay guys. Hope it's clear to you. Right? Right? Now when it comes to here, you can see, right? When we prepare the P&L and SFP, P&L and SFP, right? Under expenses, distribution expense, right? Under SFP assets, current assets, right? Distribution expense එකේ doubtful debt කියලා දාන්නේ කියලා. ඔය දන්නවනේ මේකනේ transfer වෙන්නේ P&L කියලා මම කියවනේ මේක transfer වෙනවා කියලා. මතකද I told you expense තියෙන්නේ debit side එකේ. කලින් එකෙත් තියෙනවා. කලින් එක ගත්තත් ඔයා බලන්න ඕන. P&L කියලා මේක transfer වෙනවනේ ළමයි ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දට යන්නේ. right? 3000. right? මේ කියන්නේ 61,000. right? Under current assets, we write as debtors, right? Debtors, right? Debtors are 800,000. Just remember, there a provision for doubtful debt කියලා මතක තියාගන්න. Provision for doubtful debt කියලා 61,000 නෙමෙයි අඩු වෙන්නේ. මේ BCD BBF යන ගාන අන්තිම debtors ලගෙන් අන්තිම ගාන තමයි අඩු වෙන්නේ. 64,000 තමයි අඩු. වෙනස තේරුම් ගන්න. right? Send me a thumbs up. 64,000 තමයි අඩු වෙන්නේ. අඩු වෙලා 0 6 3 736,000. තියාගන්න doubtful debt කියලා යන්නේ අදාළව. එතන මේව වෙන්නේ current assets වලින් අඩු වෙන්නේ BCD BBF යන ගා. Send me a thumbs up if it is clear. I want the thumb. Hope it's clear to you. All good? If you can't understand, let me know. I'll explain it again. Okay? Send me a thumbs up. Hello? Can you hear me? Right? If I draw this one the other way, just wait. I'll give enough time to write. Right? In here, you can see අපි අනිත් වේගෙන් බලමු. Trade receivables, right? Trade receivables මෙතන තියනවා how much? 800,000, right? කියන්නේ bad debts අඩු කළා gift තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම allowance for doubtful, allowance for allowance for impairment loss. Impairment loss. අනිත් එකේදී කියන්නේ impairment loss. Impairment. ඒකේ තියෙනවා balance brought forward 3000. Closing balance එකට බැලුවාම you can see how much it's 64,000, right? So impairment loss how much? 800,000 into 8%, 64,000. එතකොට 64,000 තමයි ECD කියලා මෙතන යන්න. EBF කියලා මෙතන යන්න. එහෙම යන්න නම් යනවා නම් මදිපාඩුව තමයි you know it's 61,000. You write it as impairment loss. Impairment loss. Right? So in here you need to open a new account for impairment loss account. Is an expense account, right? This is credit, this is debit. Allowance for impairment loss fund, right? If we prepare both P&L and SFP, right? Under distribution expenses, right? As impairment loss, you write 61,000. Trade receivables, you know, rupees 800,000. From that we deduct the closing balance minus here allowance for impairment loss, how much? 64,000. Once you deduct, it's 736,000. Understand? Same thing in different two ways. තාම ඔයාට ඔක ආවේ නැහැ. ඔකට bad debts උත් තාම තමයි හොඳටම තීරෙන්නේ. Right? First write it and raise your hands, then I'll go to the other. Once you finish, raise your hand. We call it as under provision. Under provision. ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ගාන වැඩි මේ අවුරුද්දේ ගාන අඩුයි. sorry ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ගාන අඩුයි මේ අවුරුද්දේ ගාන වැඩි. Opening you can see there was 3,000. This year 64,000. We call as under provision. Too much. I'll take only another like near less than 1 hour. It's fine, right? I'll take only less than 1 hour. Rest of the thing, let's do another day. Our session දෙක තුනක් කරමු අවුලක්. I want to give the best. Don't go. Done. Now you can see now this is a shortage to excess means opening balance is higher than the closing balance. Easy to send comes up next part. Opening balance is higher than the closing balance. Right? Once you finish, raise your hands. Then I'll go. We call it as over provision. Over provision. කලින් අවුරුද්දේ වැඩි Hold on. Right. Ah, you will write this part as well. Right. You didn't write this one. You didn't write this part as well. And this way. Let's do only the next example. It's enough, right? Then I'll take other things next day. Hope all done. Let's go to the next one, right? So you can see what is the double entry. Doubtful account debit, provision for doubtful account credit. When it comes to the uh, like you know uh, under provision, or which we call as a shortage, right? So you can see doubtful debt account debit, right? You can see provision for doubtful debt account credit. Easy, clear to see. Closing balance we find from debtors balance. Next one. In here, next one, doubtful debt provision, allowance for impairment loss, excess, over provision. Write the heading. I'm not going to write the heading. Huh? This is the heading. Right? Doubtful debt provision or allowance for impairment loss, excess, over the over provision. Opening balance is higher than the closing balance. Right? Once we do it, you can have a clear idea. Right? I'll take the same exercise number 20, page number 12. Exercise number 22, page number 12. Right? Exercise number 20, page number 12. Now in here you can see they have given you the debtor balance is how much? 800,000. Right? Look here. This is really important. I'll take the full. Now you can see don't write. It's like this. Now in here, debtor balance is 800,000, right? So debtor balance is 800,000, right? Closing balance, right? BBF balance, right? BBF month in how much? Uh, 800,000, right? Look here, 100,000. And also, uh, yeah, there is no any opening balance. I'll edit it as well, right? I'll take the provision for doubtful debt account as well, right? Provision for doubtful debt account as well. We need different bad debt. I'll take provision for doubtful, and the doubtful. Look here. In here it says, right? Debtor balance is 800,000. From that 100,000 need to write off as bad debt. Think bad debts කපලා තමයි අපි doubtful debt provision එක කරන්නේ. The 100,000 we credit as bad debt. So meaning here debtors debit 100. So bad debt is an expense, it goes to here. Bad debt. Easy creative send me, right? Now from the rest, they want us to do 10%, right? 10% impairment loss. Now you can see when it comes to this part, the closing balance of the debtors are 700. So BCD 700, EBF 700. හැමතිස්සෙම මතක තියාගන්න doubtful debts provision එක කරන්නේ bad debts කැපුවට පස්සේ. send me a thumbs up if it is right. So the provision for doubtful debt account balance should be 10% from this 70,000 into 10% means 7,000. So the BBF balance should be 7,000. BBF balance should be ඒ ගානේ පොඩි අවුලක් තියෙනවා මේ opening balance එක දීලා නැහැ. Right? Write it in here. එතනම ලියා ගන්න. The balance of the provision for doubtful debt for allowance for impairment loss. Last question now. As at 1st of April 2020 is rupees 10,000. Kalila, raise hand up now. Hope it's clear to you. Send me a thumbs up. I want the thumbs ups. Hope it's right. Write it. The balance is 10,000. Opening balance. All good, right? Now you can see in here the opening balance is 10,000, right? කලින් ගණන් වලුත් එහෙමයි. Now you can see opening is higher than the closing, right? Means the opening is higher than the closing. Now how we record, to balance the both sides to 10,000, we need to write 3,000 to here. We credit 3,000 to, right? This is doubtful debt. And in here we write provision for doubtful. Provision doubtful right? Hope it's clear to you, right? Now, when it comes to here, under distribution expenses, when we are writing the bad debt, right? Sorry, doubtful debt. Already wrote the bad debt. When you write the doubtful debt, you can't write 3,000. Why? 3,000, it goes to the credit side, right? ඒක ඩෙබිට් සයිඩ් එක්ස්පෙන්ස් එකක් මේ එක්ස්පෙන්ස් එකක් වුණාට ක්‍රෙඩිට් යන්නේ එක්ස්පෙන්ස් accounts වල ඩෙබිට් නේ යන්නේ. You need to write this 3,000 as minus 10 year thumbs up because it goes to the credit side. Understand? Right? When it comes to debtor balance, you can see closing debtor balance how much? 700,000, right? 700,000. Closing debtor balance තමයි මෙතනට ගන්නෙ. Bad debts deduct කරාට පස්සේ provision for doubtful debt account same it's 7,000, right? කපලා 0 0 3 9 693,000 තමයි මෙතනට. Understood? කොහොමත් මේ provision for doubtful debt account එක credit මනේ, right? So we deduct it, write it and raise it. Then let's go to the other way. Then but bad debts උත් තියෙනවා, doubtful debts උත් තියෙනවා. Second, Student, raise your hand. Sit, madam. All good? Done? Okay, right? Nice. Now the next part. Now when it comes to in here, under the allowance method, right? Right. Okay. Now, when it comes to this one, right? You know, in here you can see trade receivables. Grow with me. Initially, the closing one was 800,000, right? So impairment loss account, right? Allowance for impairment. Initially, I gave you the allowance for impairment loss balance was 10,000. Now There is no any bad debt account. You know, bad debts also. Loss, you know, bad debts, which means the impairment loss 100,000. Trade receivables 100, right? And if I take the balance, you know, BCD balance is 700,000, right? It's my mistake. Maybe පොඩි වැරද්දක් තියෙනවා දැන් දෙක, right? 700,000 වල 10% කියන්නේ 70,000. කවුරුත් කිව්වේ, right? Am I clear to you guys? Can you hear me? Right? අපි ගත්ත balance එක වැරදි නේද? එතන එතකොට එන්න ඕනේ BBF balance එක 70,000. Yes? Okay. ඒතර විතර 70,000 නම් එතන මම 100,000 කියලා දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර අපි ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් කරමු. right? එතන එන්න ඕනේ හරි ගාන ගන්න එපා. ඔය බලන්න මෙතන 70,000 නම් මෙතන දාන්න 100. එහෙම හදන්න. right? ඒතර මෙතන එන්න ඕනේ 30,000. right? මෙතන minus 30,000. මෙතන minus 30,000. මෙතන 70,000. යන්නේ මෙතන වෙන්න ඕනේ 607. එතකොට වෙන්න ඕනේ 30. right? තේරුණාද? දාන්න බන්න thumbs up. ඒතර අතන අර අපි ගාන මෙතන ලිව්වා නේද? මං ගානේ දුන්නානේ. එතන දාපු එකේ දාන්න මම ඔයාලට දුන්නේ like this thing here I gave you I uh, the provision for doubtful, the balance of the provision for doubtful, the allowance for impairment loss asset first step is 10,000. I mean 100,000. Correct it as 100. Can you guys send me a thumbs up? Okay, all clear to you? Right? Should be 100,000. The opening balance should be 100. Understood. Now let's go to here. It should be 100,000. Right? Now you know the closing balance is how much? 700,000 to 10% 70. So the BBF balance. If so, you know, is 30,000 we credit to here. Right? Allowance for එකම තමයි දාන්නේ අන්න වෙනස. දැන් මේක මෙහෙම හිතන්න. මේකේ මේ ඇවිල්ලා මේ over provision එකක් නේ. opening වැඩි නම් closing අඩු නම් it's a over provision. excess provision. Opening අඩු නම් closing වෙන්න it's a under provision. shortage. The shortage එකක් තිබුත් මේක credit වෙලා මෙතන debit වෙන්නේ. ඒතර මොනවාද? bad debts එන්නේ මෙහෙට. doubtful debts එන්නේ මෙහෙම. Understand? එකම පැත්තට එන්නේ send me තමයි. Since this is an over provision, hope it's clear to you, right? Since this is an over provision, you can see it goes to here credits. නැත්තම් එන්නේ under provision එකක් නම් කියන්නේ under provision එකක් කියන්නේ opening අඩුයි closing වැඩි. ඒතර over provision කියන්නේ opening වැඩි closing අඩු. අනිත් පැත්තට right? so එකටම තමයි දාන්නේ. ඒක expense account එකක්. එතන 100,000 නම් 70,000 don't think as BCD. කියන්නේ ඩෙබිට් වෙන්නේ. ඩෙබිට් කියන්නේ ඉන්කම් පැත්තද එක්ස්පෙන්ස් පැත්තද යන්නේ. කියන්නේ ඩෙබිට් කියන්නේ එක්ස්පෙන්ස්. ඒ කියන්නේ අඩු කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. විතින් පැකට්ස් දාන්න ඕනේ. ඔයා මෙතන 100 වලින් 30 අඩු කරාම 70 නම් කෙලින්ම 70 දැම්මත් එකයි. සෙන්නිය තමයි. right? ඔය තේරෙනවද hope it's clear to you? right? P&L and SF. Expenses, distribution expenses, assets, current assets. Under distribution expenses, we write impairment 70,000. කලින් එකේ දැම්මේ 100,000 minus 30,000. In here, then trade receivables, closing balance for 700,000. From that, we deduct allowance for impairment loss. වෙනස තේරුම් ගන්න. එකම account එකේ තමයි bad debts doubtful debts දෙකම. Write it and raise your hands, guys. With the whole summary, write it and raise your hands. මේ if since this is a over provision, that's why impairment loss goes to here. හැබැයි මෙතන under provision එකක් නම් ඒක මෙතන ඉඳන් මෙතනට එන්නේ. මෙතනට ඒතර bad debts doubtful debts දෙකම ඉන්නේ මේ එකම පැත්තේ. කොට ඒ amount එක තමයි දාන්නේ. දාන්න බන්න thumbs up එකක් තියෙනවා. Hope you got the idea. Right? Okay, guys.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So why did you took 700,000 to the debit side of the trade receivable?
Sorry,
Why did you took 700,000 to the debit side of the trade receivable?
trade receivables account. Which one?
On the top side?
100,000.
No, no, 700,000. You
The
have taken
sorry,
you have taken 700,000 to the debit side of the trade receivable account.
800,000. You asking, right?
No, sir, I'm asking about 700,000. 700.
700,000. So opening balance was 800,000. We write off 100,000. account එක balance කරද්දි කොහොමද එන්නේ වැඩි පැත්ත 8 right අඩු පැත්ත 800,000 right දැන් මේක BCD නෙමෙයි අත්‍තරම අනිත් පැත්තට එන්නේ right BCD 700,000 EBF debit side same right other way thank you
Okay,
same
sir.
to finish raise your hand All good? With madam? Right. Okay. Now you know about this one. Just remember, මෙතන ලියාගන්න මෙතන shortage කියන්නේ under provision. Under provision කියන්නේ මොනවද? මුල අඩුයි PBF මුල අඩුයි යට වැඩි. Right? Closing balance is higher than the opening. So doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit. You can under provision, right? Doubtful debt account debit, provision for doubtful debt account credit, right? Next one, excess, which means over provision. Over provision, opening is higher than the closing. Right? If so, provision for doubtful debt account debit, doubtful debt account credit. Provision for doubtful debt account debit, doubtful debt account credit. We deduct it from the distribution expense. Now, in the same way, in the shortage, how we record the under provision, under provision. We write it impairment loss account debit, allowance for impairment loss account, impairment loss account debit, allowance for impairment loss account credit. මෙතන bad debts තිබ්බොත් ඒකේ එන්නේ debit ම තමයි. Debtors balance credit, debtors trade receivables credit, impairment loss account debit. There is a bad debt. Bad debts අඩු කරලා balance එකෙන් තමයි අපි මෙතන balance එක බලන්නේ. Right? So over provision තිබ්බොත් ඔයාලට පේනවා allowance for impairment loss account debit, impairment loss account credit, doubtful, right? So මෙතන bad debts ඇවිල්ලා bad debts අයින් කරලා ඉතුරු වෙන ගානෙන් තමයි අපි මෙතන ECD balance එක, right? So ඕකේ තමයි මහා ලොකුවට හිතන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අර මේක දාලා නැහැ. So there are other questions, right? ඔය ඔක්කොම දාලා තියෙනවා තව ටිකක්. I'll take another date, right? So I'll take another date. Then we need to do the like we did 33 questions are there. Then I sent only up to the page number 16, right? So I want to give the other things which තාම මේක ඉවර නැහැ. මේකට තව ටිකක් යනවා. දවස් 6 we need. So then the pending thing is about EPF, you know, ETF and the VAT, value added tax, right? Okay. So I will do this one later. So another day. Sometimes my plan is to do this one on Sunday instead of the manufacturing account. Is it clear to say? Instead of starting the manufacturing account on Sunday, 8 to 10:30, let's do the balance rest of the thing. Thank you for the participation. Let's meet on tomorrow for 2026, 7 to 9 paper revision class. 2027, Monday, sorry, Sunday, 11 to 1. 2025 also same, Saturday, 7 to 9. Right? Okay. Thank you for the participation. Bye.
Thank you, sir.